In the 2025 Red Meat industry profile, I picked out four key themes, which I think are the most important. So that first one is the record economic contribution, £3.5 billion of output and just over a billion of TVA. The second key point was it's not a new one. It's decline in livestock numbers, specifically on the beef side, a more significant decline in the last couple of years. Sheep side, slower decline in ewe numbers, and some of that's been offset by production gains, productivity rising with our lambs to ewe ratio. Pig sector, we've seen decline in numbers, but last year some growth in the number of animals leaving for slaughter destinations, so that was a more positive sign from the pig sector. My third point was that production costs remain elevated, around about 30% since before COVID. Despite some declines in the last couple of years, they're still elevated, and that profitability challenge is one of those factors that's been limiting our livestock herds in recent years. My fourth and final point was more positive. It's strong market demand. So we saw meat supplies increase in beef, lamb, and pork sectors last year at UK level, 4% for beef and pork, and 9% for sheep meat, highlighting that consumer demand is there. It's a document of key statistics across the supply chain, from livestock production, both national and regional, to abattoir production, abattoir staff numbers. It also covers some stuff on the consumption side and red meat trade as well, so imports and exports. It's primarily aimed at key business decision makers and also policy makers, and just giving them a wide range of evidence to use in those decisions. One theme almost every year in statistics is that resilience we see in Scotland's red meat production sector and across the supply chain. There's always different challenges every year to deal with, and the sector just keeps going, keeps getting those animals on the ground, getting the meat produced into the shops, and providing a high quality product for consumers. We've seen a rising UK population in recent years, 0.5% per year, and that's projected to continue by the ONS going forwards. So that rising demand means more people in the country, means more mouths to feed, and people really want that high quality source of protein in their diet. People are certainly starting to think more about what they're eating in recent years. They want that locally sourced high quality products, and the farming processing sector kind of had to adapt to that. We saw 4% increases in beef and pork output last year, and 9% increases in sheep meat output. And whether that is through local production or through increased trade, the sector's really had to adapt just to get that product into the country and onto people's dinner plates. It's been a good year for performance. Obviously, there's still been challenges, but really that's the key point to highlight is rising farm production and abattoir production. Some of that driven by higher livestock prices. That kind of spending, consumer spending, is kind of translated across into the higher output. On the productivity side, so we've seen decline in livestock numbers in beef and sheep sector, but some, I guess, a more limited decline in calf registrations. And on the sheep side, I guess it was a difficult year for lambing, but the lamb-to-ewe ratio was not as bad as in previous difficult years of 2013 and 2018. So we've still seen that kind of upwards trend in productivity over time. In the pig sector, so last year was a better year for performance. Some confidence is returning after the hard years of 2021 and 2022. Production costs below the farm gate price, so returning some much needed confidence to the pig sector. So the Scottish red meat sector doesn't operate in a kind of vacuum of Scotland or the UK market. It's a really, red meat is a global thing, and there's always a wide range of market forces from across the world that are impacting things. So I think one of those most important things in the last couple of years has really been that massive decline in beef production in America that we've seen. I think the cow numbers maybe the lowest levels in about 70 years, and that's really driven a surge in imports into the US, which maybe displaces product from other markets. Um, we've seen a huge growth in beef demand in China as its economy is kind of urbanized and grown more wealthy. I guess that kind of consumer demand in China has maybe softened a bit. So that's devalued that market and shifted product into other countries, and we've really seen a huge shift in trade flows in recent years. Um, and another one is that I guess that kind of climate has had a major impact on production across the world in recent years. Um, that's what drove that decline in beef production in America. In Australia, it's almost boom and bust depending on what the weather does. We've almost seen we're sort of the top of that production cycle for beef and lamb at the moment. Um, and they've been exporting huge amounts of beef and sheep meat and across the world, and they've started to target the UK market. But what's that going to look like in the next couple of years could be a different situation if their production now starts to fall back as the dry weather returns.